We're back on F1 24 for driver career mode with Aston Martin, and this is the Australian Grand Prix round 3 of season 1, and we're starting off with our first ever secret meeting. So we have a secret meeting. What team is our first secret meeting going to be with? And it's McLaren. Okay, so got a secret meeting with McLaren. Are we going to continue talks here? Because I mean, we are technically ahead of McLaren at the moment, but McLaren are the quicker team generally. And this race was done after the V1.3 update, so McLaren are actually now a little bit ahead of Aston Martin in terms of R&D. So I am going to accept talks. So hopefully later on in the season we'll have another meeting coming through. I'm going to put this turbo durability upgrade on the car because Alonso's done quite a lot of the other upgrades, so that's all I could really do. And we're going to get into this race weekend now. To start off with, well, before we get into that, actually looking at R&D, you can see things have changed a little bit because this is after the update, which has made the performance of each team more like what it is in real life. So Kick Sauber are now right down the bottom, and yeah, Aston Martin, our team, we're now a little bit further back. It's not quite as close between, you know, McLaren, Ferrari, Mercedes, and Aston Martin. Still pretty close, but not as close anymore. And yeah, that bottom group has kind of shifted around a little bit as well, but it's still looking fairly similar. And because there has been the change to handling and the performance upgrade and everything, it means that the F1 24 calculator was not really working. It wasn't accurate going into this race, so I did it and it put the difficulty way too high for me, so I've had to I haven't actually used the calculator for this video. Hopefully by the next race or next couple of races the calculator is back, you know, to where it should be in regards to the new handling model and the new update. So I will still put it down in the description, but just so you know, it may not be 100% accurate as of the time of this video going up. Q1 gets finished and me and Alonso really close to each other there, 3rd and 4th place. We have got both Hasses, both RBs, and Bottas in the Sauber out in Q1. A little bit surprised about both RBs being out because they are actually kind of the lead of that, let's call them Formula B group. You know, they are behind Aston Martin, ahead of, you know, the likes of Williams, Haas and all that. So a little bit surprised to have both of them out in Q1. I would have thought they would have at least got one car through to Q2. Really, where their pace is on R&D, they should have been getting both cars through, but unfortunately not the case for them. But anyway, we continue on into Q2 here, and yeah, I do like Albert Park. I like this track. It's actually very fun to drive on this game. The updated handling model now, because obviously this was done after the updates, the handling model has had a little bit of a change. I mean, I wasn't that bothered by the old handling model, but yeah, it does feel a little bit better, a little bit easier now and more responsive, so that is good. Both Williams, both Alpines, and the other Sauber of Joe out in Q2, so what you would expect. And we have got the 5 teams all into Q3, so kind of what you would expect from this. And as you can see, we're looking pretty good at the moment. P2 there, very good lap time from us. And we now get into Q3 and we'll look at this full Q3 lap. Currently sitting P5, just ahead of my teammate. Obviously on R&D, technically we should really be like 9th and 10th, but it is all very close here. It depends on the track, it depends what other people are doing, so, you know, really anywhere. I mean, figuring out the AI difficulty for this game is still a little bit of a you know, I'm not getting it 100% yet. This first season, first times on tracks, and you know, with all the changes going on, it is a bit difficult to get that correct difficulty, but I think on the most part I've done a fairly good job so far. There are other issues with the game which mean that the difficulty isn't 100% in some circumstances. You know, we saw it in previous races where at the end of a race the AI seem to have used all of their ERS battery, don't use the battery at the end, so if you save your battery you can make up big positions right at the end of the race. That is still the case. I mean, there has been another update after this race, so that update will have been out for when I do the next round in, I think, Japan. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to change anything. But after Q3, Alonso does actually beat us. So it is the first time this season in these first 3 rounds that we have been out-qualified by our teammate. But we're right next to each other on the grid. Alonso P5, we're there in P6, ahead of both Mercedes and both Ferraris, not putting in a very good performance here actually. And it's Verstappen in P1, the 2 McLarens showing their upgraded pace there in 2nd and 3rd, and Perez in 4th. So let's see what the Australian Grand Prix has for us in Season 1 of this F1 24 Driver Career Mode.
Well, once upon a time, this used to be the season opener before it fell victim to a pandemic reshuffling. But now Albert Park is back at the heart of the F1 calendar, so welcome to sun-kissed Melbourne for the Australian Grand Prix. We go racing today then in the state of Victoria, where the drivers have 14 corners and 3.28 miles to navigate at an average lap speed of around 120 miles per hour. The close proximity of the barriers make accidents inevitable, and recent history shows us that a safety car is not at all out of the question. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Oscar Piastri, Perez, Fernando Alonso, Shaw, Hamilton, Sainz, Russell, Leclerc, Gasly, Ocon, Albon, Joe, Sargent, Magnussen, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Bottas and Yuki Tsunoda. And now it's time to head down to the track. And joining me in the commentary box today with the best view on what is about to unfold and some strong views on the action we're about to see, Naomi Schiff. Now, Ant, you know us. Professionals as we are, we don't listen to rumours all the time, just some of the time. And in the case of this driver, I think we were right to listen to those rumours because they were true. I don't want to, but we should look at their recent performances. And I think poor is a universal word to describe them. I know what we've got to do before the start of today's race, but what about our driver? What do the final hours look like for them?
Well, every driver certainly has their own way of preparing themselves before a race. But I can tell you that pre-race rituals are a real thing. When I was in go-karting, I used to touch every wheel in a specific sequence before I got into the kart. And then I stepped up to cars and had a specific set of fireproof base layers just for race day. So watch the drivers when they're on the grid. Some may be sitting on the floor and isolating, others may be up to other things that they do. But these little things really help their minds get ready for the race.
Alright, it is time to go for the Australian Grand Prix in Season 1 of this Driver Career Mode in F1 24. It is a bit of a not great start for us. We've overtaken by Hamilton already as we head into Turn 1, and we've got 2 cars on the right as well, and we are now fighting with Leclerc, who started in P10, and we're down to P9 at the start of this race, so not a good start for us here. Down from 6th to 9th, the worst start we've had in this career mode so far, but we're just going to carry on as the 2 Mercedes do battle up ahead. Hamilton and Russell. Hamilton just about manages to stay ahead for now. Leclerc has had a good start because he started behind his teammate. His teammate has not had a good start. He's now down to 10th. So the Ferraris have basically switched positions here, and we haven't had a particularly good start here. We're in a Ferrari sandwich ourselves, and just gonna try and stay ahead of Carlos Sainz here, but he is right behind us here. We're trying to use some battery but not go too crazy with it. The 2 Mercedes still fighting it out, and already there's quite a large gap to the top 5 of the 2 Red Bulls, the 2 McLarens, and Fernando Alonso up there in that top group as well. He had a very good start. He's up to, I think, P4. So Fernando Alonso, my teammate, good start in this race compared to us going backwards. There are yellow flags behind. Not sure what that's about. Doesn't look like anybody's fallen off the road, but maybe just a little lockup by someone behind us. And there's quite a big gap now from Ocon in 11th down to, I believe that is Albon in 12th in the Williams, as we finish lap number 1, P9. Like I said, not a good start for us, and already gaps starting to form in this race. George Russell is looking quick here. He was fighting his teammate all through lap 1, and on lap 3 he's now going to try and go for a move on his teammate. Round the outside he goes into this very fast kind of chicane section, and he gets ahead of Hamilton. So now Russell up to P6, but look, 3.5 seconds to Norris. one lap later, and that's now 4.5 seconds. So these guys fighting each other, really slowing them down and us down as well, because we're also stuck in this train. Hamilton now getting back past his teammate again, so still showing that there's good pace there, and that DRS zone is really helping as we see that move take place just ahead of us as well. And we're now seeing if we can just try and defend from the cars behind, because Sainz is looking quite prominent there, and we just, you know, continue on and yeah, just stay in this position. Pretty difficult in this DRS train to make any moves. Oscar Piastri currently sitting P2, so he had the better start compared to his teammate who started in second, and he's actually now looking at a move on Max Verstappen for the lead of this race, and he gets it round the outside, and Oscar Piastri now leads the Australian Grand Prix on lap number 6. Verstappen will try and come back at him, but won't have the DRS, so can't do anything at the moment. Sergio Perez currently sitting in third place, and he locks up going into that corner, almost makes contact with Norris on the exit, and that is Perez down to P5. Doesn't lose too much from that, but now Alonso's up into P3 as Verstappen next lap around is going for a move on Piastri, and Piastri locks up as well. It is terrible. He was fighting for the lead. Piastri locks up, is into the gravel trap at turn 1, is falling down the order, cannot figure out when to come back on the track safely. We end up going past him, so we're now up into P8, and the safety car is out for the first time in F1 24. We have our first safety car in this game, and it is because of Piastri locking up, going into the gravel at turn 1. So unfortunate for him, considering he was literally fighting for the lead. We're going to come into the pits this lap. It's going to be a double stack. The team didn't want us to do that, but we're going to do it because we're going to lose more time if we don't. Thankfully, we don't really lose much time at all here, because although the front left is very slow going on, couldn't get the front left on there, that might give us a little bit of trouble, but it's actually not going to be that big of a deal, because pretty much everybody has come into the pits. Every single driver has come into the pits here, so it means that everybody's doing a double stack, and just the way that, you know, where each team is on the grid, we actually have gained positions, and we're up to P5 now. Alonso is in P2, so this has worked out for our team surprisingly well. We are P2 and P5. The race gets started again. Not the best restart. I'm struggling a bit getting the restarts on this game, but we're gonna continue on here in P5. We've now got Russell behind us, so we've actually jumped both. We've jumped both Mercedes in the pits, as there's another lockup, this time from Zhou Guanyu further down the order. He then finds himself tangled a little bit with Alex Albon, and they're going to go side by side, but not for very long. Zhou will just about manage to stay ahead in the Sauber, but Alonso's looking rapid, and with DRS, he's in P2 at the moment. He goes very close to the wall. He goes round the outside of Max Verstappen, and Fernando Alonso takes the lead of the Australian Grand Prix. We have an Aston Martin leading the way here in this race. Things have really shifted and changed here thanks to that safety car, and look at the squabble of cars now. Verstappen now going for a move back on Alonso once again. I think Norris might have locked up there and has now fallen down to P6. Verstappen carries on. Perez now a little bit further back in the train, got screwed over with that safety car, and he's going to lock up. He's going to lock up again. That is the second lockup for Perez this race. That drops him down to P9. Thankfully, he keeps it on the road, but yeah, loses some positions. Lewis Hamilton fallen back from his teammate a little bit here, actually 2.3 seconds behind the cars ahead, and now it looks like Sainz is going for a move around the outside of him. He's got Perez just behind him as well, so not going too well for Hamilton, but he's pulling to the side. He's slowing right down, and I think that is a mechanical retirement, a mechanical failure for Lewis Hamilton. It is the first driver this season to retire due to a mechanical failure, and it's Lewis Hamilton who has that horrible first statistic. As at the front, it's still going crazy between Verstappen and Alonso. Verstappen gets himself back ahead of Fernando once again. We're just behind there in P4, hustling Charles Leclerc. As further back, Yuki Tsunoda fighting with Esteban Ocon, trying to go round the outside, still side by side through this final sector here. The RB, a pretty, it's an alright car. It is on paper a better car than the than the Alpine at the moment, but they're still side by side around this whole final sector. And is that Logan Sargent there? Is also looking at a move, and it's going to be 3 wide as we head down the front straight into turn 1. Sargent pulls off the double overtake. Sonoda gets ahead of Ocon. Ocon falls down 2 positions. Some great side by side action there. As up ahead, you can see Alonso and Verstappen still battling it out. Alonso back into the lead once again. We're right behind Leclerc here and are actually sensing a move as we head into the next corner. He goes defensive. We're going to go round the outside. We're going to try and brake later. We're going to put our car there in the position, get a tight turn in left, and then we're up to P3. This is looking amazing for Aston Martin right now, as Alonso still leads this race. But once again, it's a bit of a yo-yo effect here with the DRS. This seems to happen a lot in this game compared to other games, and Verstappen slingshots his way back around the outside once again. So now Alonso is the car ahead of me, but with the DRS it's going to be difficult for us to really do anything to our teammate here as we break into the next corner. But Alonso locks up. Alonso's locked up. He's gone into the gravel and he's going to tumble down the order. It is terrible for my teammate. He falls down to P8, so he's still within the points, thankfully. But after battling for the lead, just like Piastri, he falls down the order. And then Lando Norris is going to be the second driver to have a mechanical failure in this race. He is also going to be out in the McLaren. It was not looking amazing for him, to be honest. After looking so good for McLaren early on, it all fell away. For us, though, lap 25, we're now the car behind Verstappen. We have the advantage of DRS, and that advantage is pretty damn big. We're being careful on our battery as well. We've still got over 50% battery to use. We're going to sense a move here on Max Verstappen around the outside. As we head into this corner, he still sticks his nose up the inside, but we're going to take the lead of the Australian Grand Prix on lap 25, but it will be fairly short-lived as Verstappen with DRS comes blasting back past us into turn 1. We've just got to stay behind him now. If we can stay within a second here, we've got a very good chance of getting back to the lead and potentially winning this race. You can see on the minimap in the bottom left, it's basically a train from Verstappen down to Alonso in, I think, P7 as we get back past Verstappen once again into that corner. Yeah, it is actually looking strangely good for us now, leading this race, and everything has really worked out quite well as Sonoda now battling with Zhou Guanyu, but he spins the car around and is into the gravel. That is terrible for Sonoda. He had a couple of great moves, some great racing in this race, but unfortunately he spun off into the gravel. He will continue on, but he is now, I mean, he wasn't in the points anyway, but he's now fallen even further back. As Verstappen's kind of caught up behind us, George Russell senses a massive opportunity, goes round the outside of both of us, and takes the lead on the second to last lap of this race. George Russell leads the Australian Grand Prix. We now don't have DRS to defend either, so we can't really attack George. Verstappen's trying to get a move around the outside. We go defensive. We get too eager on the power out of that corner. Bit of wheel spin, and Russell's actually going to get outside the 1 second margin for us for a second there. But then the last lap, once again, just like it's happened before, the AI just completely use all their battery in the lap before. He doesn't have any battery to use. You can see the flashing red light, and this is something that really needs fixing because he is completely at the mercy of myself, who can just dive up the inside. I have plenty of battery left. Take the lead on this last lap as we get the power down a bit early again, but although we're going to go on to win this race now, I will just say it, we're going to win our first ever race in F1 24 in Aston Martin in the third round, but they really need to fix this issue with the AI not using their battery properly, and in the final lap having no battery, so they're just so easy to overtake. But for now, it's going to be our first ever victory in F1 24, the first ever victory for Aston Martin. We're going to win this race. We're only the second driver to win a race this season after Max Verstappen. He's won the first 2 races, but we win race number 3. It's 3 races, 2 podiums, 1 win for us. What a result.
We've witnessed some great battles on the streets of Melbourne today then, and they've taken a fantastic win.
It's one thing to put fast laps together, but to make these moves stick without losing too much time, that's real racecraft.
I can see them on their way out to the podium now. Aston Martin are really making waves in this sport, and what a special race this was to see them earn that top spot.
What a result for us, our first win in F1 and only our third ever race. I mean, I like to say it was quite lucky, I guess. We got lucky with the pit stops. Our team ended up the best. You know, our drivers were the highest, like 2 drivers to have gone through the pit stop. So that worked out for us. Alonso was fighting for the lead. He was right there behind us in that train at the end. So any issue for any of us, and it could have been him, it could have been Russell, it could have been Verstappen, it could have been Leclerc, Sainz, you know, look how close. It's 2.3 seconds from myself back to Alonso, who finishes P7, so pretty unfortunate for him considering how close it was, but look how close everybody is. The top 3 within a second there, so it really could have been anyone's game at the end there, but for us it worked out. And yeah, like I said, just the issue in this game of the AI not using their ERS properly on the final lap, and they are sitting ducks on the final lap, and it makes it really unfun because you can just sit in second place on the last lap. As long as you've got a DRS zone coming up, you will lead the race and you will win. Like, they really need to fix that because it is honestly quite game breaking. And look at that, we're P2 in the Drivers' Championship, 11 points behind Verstappen, and Aston Martin jumps back up to P2 in the Constructors as well. So big race in Australia. We'll have to see what Japan has in store next time, but there we go. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.